And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. And glad to be here, and I hope you are too. So, I first want to thank all those who sent something on the old PayPal, and I think that's gonna skin me by. um, and thanks for being there, number one. And how about some thumbs up? And today we're going to talk about relativity, right? Not so much scientifically, but your life. What's relative to your life? So I've started going to, I stumbled into a church, and these people are very nice. Now, I am not their average guy. They're like, whoa, who is this guy? Yeah, they're pretty accepting of me. And because I talk the way I do, they like, actually, it makes sense. And one of the hierarchy of that place kind of glammed right on me. And they were smart enough to go, well, this guy can actually do some good things, right? So anyway, he knows, and they know the hierarchy. There's three. There's a whole bunch of people who think they are the hierarchy, but there's three people who really kind of run the joint, and they all know that this guy he could be good for us. And because I went in that church because the three people who I lined up to take me to the eye surgery, because it's kind of hard to drive yourself to the eye surgery and then have to drive back 50 miles when you're blind, when you can't see anything. So when you are kind of you know looking like Stevie Wonder. So uh, so my eyes are actually pretty good. They're still wicked sensitive to light. I've always had blue eyes. My eyes never really would dilate. They'd always stay open. They'd be dilated, right? So, anyway, ah. So, buddy, how long have you been growing your hair?
5 years.
5 years. Took you 5 years to get.
Yesterday.
You just got it cut. You got it trimmed up.
Yeah, it was really long.
Right.
Yesterday.
Well,
I won't grow it like him.
yeah. That's what I used to have really long hair.
Oh yeah. Once you start losing it on top.
Oh, maybe somewhere between my 40s and 50s.
Really?
I mean, it was probably thinning out, but I'm not a guy who looks at myself or thinks about. I mean, as long as I don't smell.
Yeah.
And I don't have like a piece of pizza stuck to me. Yeah. You guys say well. So last Sunday I walked because one person, oh yeah, I'll definitely take you, right? Well, they got really drunk and went out and lied down in the sun, and they got heat stroke, right? Another one got really drunk and ended up in jail, and then the third one just, I just don't want to do it. But you said you would. You're I'm not going to do it. I don't care. But I don't care. But I was going to go transsexual with her, and anyway, so that's kind of what. But these church folks aren't really it. And I didn't go to their Bible studies, but the Bible studies. So I went in, and this lady goes, "What can I do to help you?" Not like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" I mean, it's Sunday, it's church, right? And but I look like a homeless guy, and I said, "Well, how can you help me? I need to go get my eyes operated on tomorrow, and I need a ride." And she goes, "I'll be right back." She came back, and this guy was there, and he was in the Bible studies, and they were studying the Good Samaritan, and he's like, "Wow, here's the homily on the Good Samaritan, and I got a chance to do it." So he did. So, and he's one of the guys in charge of this place. He's in charge of everything. He's the dude, and he's been he's been there his whole life. He's in his 50s. So anyway. And he's kind of smart enough to realize that. So what's the special today?
Chicken and dumplings.
And what else?
2 sides and bread.
Two sides and bread. How much is that?
$6.99.
Oh, so I had 4 sides, and
Or $4.99.
yeah, I know it's
Chicken and dumplings.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
how much is chicken dumplings?
$6.99.
Man, I've had enough. Well, what's for dessert?
Chocolate cream pie.
No, that would put me probably into sugar shock. So
Yes,
yeah,
probably.
probably yeah, it's pretty strong stuff. So I had vegetables. So I've been going around with this guy for the, you know, last week. I mean, virtually every day. He came and got me and drove there, and we talked and talked. He thought I was an angel sent to him by God. I said, nah. And then he said, well, you're not there. You're just a figment. I said, if I'm not here, then why am I going to get my eyes operated on? How come these people are being the way they are? And he said, And so, then he got into this thing of that, oh, you're just crazy. And he's smart enough to know. I said, well, you know what Freud said? He goes, yes. Anyone who's crazy is sane, and anyone who says they're sane is crazy. I said, yeah. And I said, and I used to be a shrink, so go with that. So, anyways, but that's how and we are like Abbott and Costello, right? And we switch back and forth between who's going to be Abbott and who's going to be Costello. And so, but we get, he introduces me, and he goes, he's really, first I thought he wasn't there. Is he there? Is he real? And then he said, I thought he was an angel. Is he an angel? And then he said, well, he's just crazy, right? And then I would just, let me read your palm, and then I'd go out to the races and talk to people. And in the church, there are people who are really, stuck in the liturgy, and so this morning it was raining like all get out. So I said, okay, God, I'll go to church if you stop it raining and it gets sunny, right? So church is at 11, Bible school is at 10, and I woke up at about 9:30. I got up, took a piss. It was raining like cats and dogs. So, I sat and meditated and fell asleep, and when I woke up, the sun was shining on me, and it was about 10 o'clock, or about 10:10. So, got dressed and got my car and I got, I'm on fumes. So I drove all the way there and, said, okay, bud, what's shaking? And I walked in one end of the church, not into the sanctuary, but this other end, and kind of walked in and around and came out into the sanctuary. So I came like off the, like where the minister would come out, that's the door for the minister. And so the place was full of folk, and they have different rooms for different people. So the study groups are small, not just gigantic, but otherwise it'd just be a sermon. So there's about 8 guys there, and I came out into the class that had my buddy in it, right? And so he's sitting there kind of half asleep, and but he's always awake. He just, he feigns being an old codger. He feigns being kind of not with it, but he's really quite sharp, and that's why he's slammed onto me. And and he makes fun of me all the time, and I don't ever get upset, right? And so I said, it's fine. You can do that, and I know what you're doing, so that's fine. But I'm going from now on, every time you start, especially when you're saying this, and this, I want $20 every time you say it, and I'll keep a tab, and at the end of the week, you can pay me. So that's cut it down a bit, but, so today I said, I'm ready to collect. And I had it all written down, and he starts laughing. I said, okay, so just put gas in my car. So he did. So that's what's this week. I had my eyes operated on, and this eye is like 90% better than it was. This one's about 60%. This is the one none broke. So it has other issues, right? But I'm seeing a lot better. I can actually drive at night, which is kind of exciting, and I can actually kind of read without having to have my that apparatus on my head. Anyway, but so I've been thinking about what's going on, and again, especially since I'm surrounded by Bible thumping folk, right? And 80% of those people are sweet, loving, kind, have God in their heart and Jesus in their head, and they're really great. And they love me, because I read their palms and they go, oh, he's the devil. The other 20, 30%, they're like, and there are a couple guys who won't let me look at their palm. And I said, well, that's fine. And then I give them a reading anyway. The palm is just a hook. And the thing that's really, this church has a lot of youngsters, lots, which is a sign of a healthy church. And they're actually studying the Bible. So I've been talking to them, and the hierarch are like looking. See, even the minister is like, and he's a little, he doesn't have self-confidence, right? So he's just towing the liturgy line, but he's a smart enough guy. So anyway, so he saw and so this was their this summer. They're going to go to school back, towards the end of August. So they've been having Bible camp, right? And so anyway, I've been with the guy who runs everything, and so and he knows, man, he is amazing. He knows everyone's name, right? Me, it's Buddy. How you doing? And half of the guys are named Sam. So when I go, how you doing, Sam? It's like, I got a 50-50 shot. And anyway, but the kids are like, so I'm blind. And so their biggest sport is basketball. And there's some girls really wicked good, some boys really wicked good. Anyway, so I'm, the guy kind of sticks me, because he's the coach. He sticks me in there to keep an eye on him while he has to go do other stuff. Right, not that I'm going to coach them or anything, but when they're doing their free throws and their line, I said, so what are you guys thinking when you're doing it, right? And you're bouncing the ball, you get ready, and I'm saying, oh, I have to make it. I have to make it. And I said, no. What you have to do is just blank your mind, just focus on your breath, right? So the older guys who are playing and are pretty good were like, no, I'm just going to force myself to get that, I'm going to get it. And so the more they did that, the more, they were just missing. Normally they get, 3 out of 5, right? Now they were not getting zip, right? And so there were little kids who were part of it too. They're not just the high school kids. It's kids who are in 3rd grade are part of this, it's the summertime, right? It's just keeping the big kids in mind, and also giving the big kids the exercise of being a responsible adult. And so, and that's why this community is really good. They really are doing interesting things, because instead of the kids like with each other, they really do watch out for each other. So anyway, so the little kids and the girls listen to what I said, and there's 5 out of 5. Especially this little kid, he's in 3rd grade, and he runs up to the line, and then chucks it in, right? And you're not supposed to do that, but I said, well, look, we got to give this kid a little something, because when he did that the first 3 times, he had his 5 times, he ran up, and he boom, socked it right in. So, and then the older guys who were like, goose eggs, they go, wait, that's not fair. I said, come on, he's in the 3rd grade. I said, what grade are you in? 3rd grade. 3rd grade. So anyway, after they did that, and came time for them to do it, I said, remember? And they said, okay. And bing, 5 out of 5. They were like, wow. And so later on, the basketball coach came in and watched this and was like, how did you do that? I said, it's breathing. So anyway, and that's only my first week there. So that's given me something to do. And so people they know I have zip. So they have been like so they've been chauffeuring me everywhere, because I have no money for gas. So they've been I'm going to go there. So they come, and so they got me in their car all by themselves, and they can ask me all kinds of questions. And so I'm having something of a, I don't want to say renaissance, but fun, you know. And so, and these are nice people, and they're my neighbors, you know. I mean, they're just on. Like I said, I live in this corner where I'm. If I had really long legs, I could stand in 3 different counties and 2 different states, right? But I just, when I've been watching and observing, I just want, this is something that you might want to check out. This is Catherine Austin Fitts in Dark Journalism, right? And go check that channel out, Dark Journalism. And here they are. I'm going to play a few minutes. Oops. I'm going to play a few minutes of these guys. There we go.
Hello, everyone. This is Dark Journalist. Today, our conversation continues with former Assistant HUD Secretary Dylan Reed, partner
So she
and the
was in
publisher
the
of the Solari
Reagan
Report,
administration.
Catherine Austin Fitts. Today, Catherine will go deep on strategies for
happened in
surviving
08
invisible warfare
started then.
waged with entrainment, mind control, central bank digital currency, and mass surveillance. Please join us now.
Oh, that's a good picture.
One quick thing in all that I want to ask you about, because you
Yeah.
pointed it out, which is
So
there's a kind of a corridor between the official version and, say, the alternative research field looking at these things. And that corridor seems to be a kind of subsidized, $200 million Rogan show or something, where they're able to include like the mass formation psychosis, and they'll dump in the
Right, so the modified hangouts.
Yes, modified
Right.
hangout. That seems to be on the rise, and it's a dramatic kind of
And
asterisk.
guys,
I've
you
never
in
seen as
charge
much
who
money
always
pouring
watch me.
into the
I'm
modified
glad
hangout
to do
teams
one of
as I've
those.
seen in the last year. It's extraordinary.
I'd be glad to do a modified.
It's really extraordinary, and
Hangout.
and
That's
they're
what this
big
is.
operations. And if you look at the copywriting, I'd love to meet the copywriters because they're good. And what's funny is if you look at, there's one where literally within 24 to 48 hours, there's a group of people that I read and really admire, and sort of my go-to people, particularly in science.
Uh-huh.
Whenever they come out or say something,
my own
bam,
group.
those copywriters have it 24 to 48 hours, and they're feeding it back in various forms. They're good. I'd love to meet those guys. They're good. They're really, really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's quite a team.
Right. But it's funny because there's this core brain power, that both sides are drawing from.
Right.
And I used to do this during the litigation because I would publish all the documentation. What they didn't realize was by them using my documentation, I could tell what they were up to. So it was a great source of intelligence for me. But I would constantly publish something, and it was like a pendulum. They're over here, I'm over here, and I just keep publishing, and they just keep moving, modified, hanging their way here. And if you don't mind spending 11 years getting them over, so
Well, you have a lot of experience at this. This is why I think you can see it larger as a media trend. I even see it with Musk to a certain degree, when Musk is like, we need more free speech and all that. And then all the conservatives are like, yeah. Tucker Carlson is like, Musk is our guy. And I think to myself, you got in really fast on this. Like, that's pretty easy for him just to say a couple of things. Come on.
I don't know. He's making the smart grid fashionable. If you look at my time, there's so many great people, and I want to listen to their stuff, and I want to learn from them. And I don't have any more time for the modified hangout of the disinformation. If one more person asked me to watch a presentation on the quantum financial system, it's like, no, I don't have, and they said, well, can you explain to me why it's not legitimate? I said, no, I'm not going to spend 2 hours unpacking this and giving it to you so you can give it to those guys, and then they can embroil me in the spider's nest of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't have time because what I need to do, I'm trying to find the best actionable intelligence in the world and get it to you. And that is a full-time job. I don't have time. It's one of my favorite preachers says, my elevator only goes to the first floor. He says, you're going to the basement, you have to get off and take the stairs.
It's great. And I I think it's interesting too because you have to choose your battles wisely when you're dealing with these things.
Well, here's the thing. I made a command decision in 2014. I had hoped that I could go back into the investment world and go back to cooperating with the establishment, not in a close way, but in a, not be hostile. And I was hopeful we could go back to sort of playing tit for tat. And it turned out I was wrong. So, there was deep, still, I don't want to engage in conjecture, but I think it was very painful for a lot of people what had to come out for me to win. So I don't think that pain is gone until they all just leave the planet. So I realized, okay, I can't cooperate, but I'm going to keep doing the Slayer report, and I'm just going to tell the truth. And I just kept running into headwinds where people said, oh, you can't talk about geoengineering because then you won't be credible, and you can't talk about, pedophilia, you won't be credible. You can't talk, so I constantly get all these things. And the big one, of course, is you can't talk about UFOs. Because the financial guys will not let you talk about UFOs or black budget or any of that. And I just said, look, I'm just looking for the truth. So I'm going to look at everything that has an impact on the GDP. If it has an impact on the GDP, I'm going to look at it. And I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to integrate it. And if you don't, then you're not looking for an economically sustainable model. At the end of the day, what am I? I'm an investor. I believe in investment, and investment is all about reducing your risk. And the only way you can understand and reduce your risk is to deal completely with reality. It's the old expression, deal with reality or it will deal with you. You can't invest money in something without knowing, what's up and what's down.
Oh, right.
What's your risk? Right. Right. If I'm going to buy a cattle ranch, I need to know 10% of cattle ranches in that area have been hit by cattle mutilation in the last 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
how you get off the truth. You have a real incentive. That's part of the problem. It's part of the media problem, which is the incentive isn't for the truth. The incentive is for the narrative.
Right. Well, if you can control through a simplistic narrative, that's what you're trying to do. And that's exactly what's breaking down because it's too simplistic and won't work anymore.
Wow. Catherine, I was talking about anniversaries, 75th anniversary of the National Security Act here, coming right up. The impact of the National Security Act and the follow-on CIA Act.
So, if there's one mistake we ever made, we should all get in a time machine and go back and support James Forrestal and get him to stop the 49 Act. He tried, right?
Yes.
He tried. Big mistake. Even Truman said it was a mistake. Eisenhower said it was a mistake. They all said it was a mistake. Why did we make that mistake?
Huge.
Yeah.
It altered the course.
Big mistake. So let's talk taxation. Do you have taxation there?
Yes.
You want me to pull up a copy? Pull up taxation. Okay, so we've been trying to do the big money issues, and of course the last one, because I'm always saying don't finance your enemy.
Yes.
But the last one is taxes. I'm just working through my taxes. I'm going to pay taxes. We're all paying taxes. I mean, if elections are rigged, then there is no representation. Why should we pay our taxes if there's no representation?
Exactly.
And that's the old watchword. So my attorney and I literally spent 6 months writing a piece to explain what the tax system is, an overview of how it works, and what the issues are involved in how we need to organize to deal with the fact that our taxes are going into a system that is violating the financial management laws in the extreme. So if the federal government is out of compliance with the financial management laws and is engaged in criminal activity on a systemic long-term basis, We have to do something about that. That cannot end well. So the question is, how do citizens organize to do that? And one of the things that makes it difficult is, I think the citizens want to take back the government. Don't us make the mistake of going to work and helping the central bankers finish destroying the government. Because if you look at the existing constitution and laws, we have a lot of we have a good constitution and we have good existing laws. We do not want to lose them, because if we do lose them, we're over into the abyss.
Over the abyss.
Well, we're selling out those generations. You've pointed this out before, that it's supposed to be a fashionable thing for a millennial to say, like, oh, the boomers are getting Social Security. Let's scrap that, and reinvest that in the environment or something. That's just returning the money that your parents and grandparents have worked for and giving it directly to Mr. Globe.
Right. So you're destroying your own family wealth.
Right.
So anyway, so we wanted to help people understand the question, understand who are the kinds of people who can deal with this question, because we have state legislatures and state AGs who are paid to deal with this question and can deal with this question if we support them. And so you have to build a constituency to support them. One of the things I point out is there are ways to claw some of the money back individually.
Okay.
So when I start in taxation, did you read the story of what I did?
Yes.
It's in okay, so when I settled the
Tell it,
litigation,
Catherine, tell it.
I had the missing money. Now it's $65,000 per person as of the end of 2015. But when I settled the litigation,
That's how
I
much money
was
they're
up to
just taking out
$14,000
of
per
our
person.
GDP. Or
And it turned out that one of the New York Fed member banks, one of the largest, I owed $14,000 on a credit card from when the litigation started. And I got a large settlement. I was trying to pay off all the creditors. And I wrote them a letter and said, dear ladies and gentlemen, I said, I owe you $14,000 on this credit card, and you owe me $14,000 because it's the depository and a primary dealer for the U.S. government. You disappeared $14,000 of my money. You're legally liable and responsible. So I'm going to assert a common law right of offset, and I'm going to offset what you owe me against what I owe you. We're even. Now, if you have a problem with that, here's the name and address and telephone number of my attorney. I'd be happy to negotiate and litigate with you. Sincerely yours. Wow. I never heard another word.
It's incredible.
Right.
It makes me think of Aaron Russo when he was running around during this documentary, and he's like, is the IRS even a legal organization? He could give a straight answer in Washington.
So one of the reasons I've never gone through this thing of, I don't have to pay my taxes individually is if you look at all the ways our money gets spent, there's a lot of good things we spend money on. And I'm a great believer in paying taxes to pay for those things, to fund those things.
Right.
And when you start talking about let's not all, pay our taxes, what the people who depend on that money hear is, we're going to pull the rug out from under them. And that's not the signal we want to send. We want to be the bringers of law. In other words, the problem is the rule of law is deteriorating, and we want to return the rule of law. And you can't do that by saying, okay, well, I'm just going to walk out. You do that by walking into the center and saying, I'm going to turn this to something that's lawful.
Absolutely. So let's simplify that even further. So you have one group over here that says, hey, the government is operating this black budget. I'm not being represented. I'm not paying my taxes anymore. That's different than what you're suggesting, which is make that government accountable for the taxes that you pay.
Right. So the question is, how do I do that? And that's why we wrote taxation, was to
go watch this show.
And a lot of it, I think the best
Journal.
opportunities are your state legislature. Because the state legislature has the wherewithal and the authority, if they have support from the citizenry, to exercise responsibility. So, that money, and they're going to have to, because if you try and do this at a county level and the state government sides with the Fed and pulls the rug out from under you, it's not going to work. So under the Constitution, you have to have the benefit of the powers reserved to the states. I'm going to keep doing the Slayer report, and I'm just going to tell the truth. And I just kept running into headwinds where people said, "Oh, you can't talk about geoengineering because then you won't be credible, and you can't talk about, pedophilia. You won't be credible. You can't talk, So I get."
Hello, everyone.
So she's touched on many, many good things, and one of the more interesting one was about the National Security Act of 47. Thank you, darling. Yum, yum, yum. Ooh, do I have a fork? Okay.
There you go.
Thank you, dear. I said, what kind of ham? He said, "Oh, black bars. It's like that thick." Not so much. It's not that thick. Well, potatoes good. Instant. They make them. And the cabbage. Mm-hmm. Well, you'll find yourself a good community outlet and do your best. And that's what I'm talking about these days, is that we all need to do our best. Mm. Mm-hmm. Well, it was sunny. Sunny over there. Cloudy over there. So, probably on my way in the next 15, 20 minutes. Right. Go check out Captain Austin Fitz and Phil Harris report. Go check out the Dark Journals. Deep Journals. Sweetie, could I have a small to-go box in the back? Thank you, dear.
Box in the back, sweet
Yep.
pie.
That's about it.
You
Well,
need a bigger box.
no, this will fit perfect.
Okay.
So, do you work here all week or just on the weekend?
No, I'm just here sometimes on weekends.
Gotcha.
On the weekends.
What do you do normally?
I have a 15-month I'm having to take care of. So
That's like 5 jobs in one.
2 14-year-olds and 8. And only one is mine that I'm getting ready to adopt.
There you go. You're doing a great job.
The 8-year-old is my granddaughter. The 2 14-year-olds are my niece.
The interesting thing, I'm not a big fan of abortion, but once everyone's not doing it, there's going to be 2 million babies in this country that nobody wants.
I got kids that parents just turned out on dope.
Right, that's what I'm
drugs.
talking about.
So I put the kids. I'm the only straight one out of it.
Well,
But I love them babies.
yes, you're doing a good job, baby. I have 128 godchildren.
My granddaughter, she used to be strung out, or my daughter used to be strung out for that on dope. She cleaned her life up. She's a now manager down here at McDonald's. She works all the time. She has her daughter all the time.
That's good.
I'm like, that's the best thing you could ever do.
How old is she now?
My granddaughter's 8, my daughter's 30.
Right. Okay. What was she strung out on? Yeah.
But she's remarried, got a good life now, and keeping her stuff together.
I
She
grew
did
up in-
play for a year.
I grew up in Harlem. We had no police. Grandmas ran everything, right? And everyone belonged to a church, and everyone was too busy striving to do their best.
Right, then
They weren't looking for a handout or it's somebody else's
now
fault.
that's all they want to do now.
But it's not their fault. The political system has done this. See, there's a Hollywood folk who doing a good job. The ham was good, I have to admit. Even though it was pretty thin. That's all right. I like these folks. Okay. I think that's enough. Remember, thumbs up. Get more people to watch this. I need suggestions. I need suggestions. Technical, aesthetic. Send them to me. I'm up for it. Okay.